Hello, my name's Alexander White, and today I want to share with you probably my favourite compression technique because it's so easy to set up. It really helps you get a great mix as your first compression starting point, and it's really transparent. It's not a compression style that you're supposed to hear. It's compression that just makes everything sound a little bit bigger. So let me play you the piece of audio that we're working on today. I've recorded this as an example and to be very extreme with the dynamics to show you how this can help. Let's have a listen to the piece of music that we're going to be working on today. I'll play it up to the loud section of the recording and then stop and we'll talk about what we're going to do. And then the piece goes on to get quieter again. So this compression technique, my secret weapon compression technique, is simply using a compressor like the 1176 that can do three major things. First of all, a really fast attack. An adjustable release time is helpful, but it's not one of the major things. If you've got a fixed release or something like that, or your release can't get too fast, it's not the end of the world. The big thing is you need a fast attack because we're going to be clamping down on any sound really quickly. The second is a high ratio. So whatever compressor you use, you don't have to use an 1176. You can use anything that allows you to go fast attack, high ratio. With this one, we're going to use 20:1. You can imagine also perhaps being able to use certain limiters for this as well. And the final thing is a mix control. So we're going to be blending, like with parallel compression, we're going to be blending this in. So this is a form of parallel compression, but the key is we set it up in a very specific way. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the very start of the track, because that's where the quietest section is. What you want to do is find the very, very quietest moment in the music. So let's say you're recording an acoustic guitarist. What you would ask the guitarist to do is say, hey, just quickly play the quietest part of your song and I'm going to record a little bit and then we're going to put some compression on it. Once you've got that recording in, just find the quietest section. I'm going to choose this one here and we're going to loop this so I can just hear just that moment. So let's have a quick listen back to it. So that's the quietest section in this piece of music. Now let's turn the input up, or depending on what compressor you're using, basically you want to set the threshold. With the 1176 we set the threshold with the input control, or rather it's a fixed threshold but we're driving more signal into it. Whatever compressor you're using, you want to make sure that we get this to the point of that threshold but no louder. So let's turn this input control up until we just start to see that needle just knocking a little bit. And then I'll continue to explain what we're doing. So here we go. Okay, I saw the needle move. It's somewhere around here. Let's just see if we can find exactly the point. Okay, so we'll back it off. It's still moving a little bit there. A little higher. And a tiny bit off. This will be about right, somewhere just about here. That opening note is a really great example because that has a little whoom, little tiny bit of energy and I can see it's not triggering the compressor. So now what we want to do is make sure that the volume of the compressor when it's on is exactly the same as when it's off, or pretty close to it. So let's go find that now. For this, I'm just going to be stopping and starting, switching the compressor on and off and listening. All right, so our compression is a little louder. Let's bring our compressor down in volume. It's a touch louder still, so let's bring it back a fraction. That's about right. Okay, that's perfect. So now let's play this guitar back and watch what happens with the compression. You can already guess it's going to start hitting really hard, but let's listen to it, take it up to the loud section of this track, and then I'll explain the next step, and then I'll show you the results and why this is such a brilliant move to make as your first compression step. So here we go. And when we get into the loud section, the compressor freaks out, it's too aggressive, it starts to distort because we've got such a fast attack and release time on this compressor. So you can just hear all of the compression. The benefit is that we've evened out the sound, but it's not worth it because of the problems that we get. We get too much distortion, too aggressive. It really doesn't even sound like an acoustic guitar that much anymore. It sounds like, well, it sounds like we've purposefully distorted it. It could be a good effect, a special effect, but it's not great if what we're trying to do is make a nice, pristine kind of acoustic guitar sound. So the first thing that I like to do is go to the loudest section now, and I want to just make sure that even though the compressor is going to be hammering as hard as it can, that we try to mitigate some of that distortion. So let's have a listen and see if we can back off this release time and find a nice mid-ground where we've got some aggression but not too much. Backing off a little. See if you can hear the difference. I'll have the release very fast and then I'll slow the release down. See if you can hear that we get less distortion. So this is fastest first of all. And again, fastest, and then I'll turn it to slightly slower. So the compressor obviously is still way too aggressive, but it's less so. We've relaxed it just so we're not getting a really noticeably, obviously distorted sound. Now it's just sounding like it's really overcompressed. We still do have a little bit of distortion, but I think it's something we're going to be able to work with. So the next step is going over to our mix control. What we're going to do is we're going to bring the mix control to 50-50. Now let's listen to the whole thing again from the top. Okay, so you could really hear the compressor, well, you could see the compressor working, but you couldn't hear the compressor causing all that distortion anymore. Now it's sounding quite transparent. But let's go one further. Let's actually have a look at what this has actually done to help us out. So what I'm going to do is just pop over to here. I'm going to bounce this track to a new track. So let's just hit this button here. That's done. Now let's just open up these tracks to large, so they're both about the same size. In fact, I wonder if we can go one further. Let's try extra large. Extra large is a bit big. Let's leave it at large. Okay, so can you actually see from the waveform? Here is exactly the same volume. But if we look at our chorus now, can you see how much our chorus is now contained in comparison to this one here? So we've managed to transparently reduce the volume of the chorus without it being really noticeable, and we've done it in a way that you can set up a compressor in a really predictable manner. That kind of dynamic range that I've just showed you there is one of the more extreme examples of what you're going to get. There, in some cases, might be some even wider dynamic ranges, but this is a great example of how much we can contain that signal. And all you have to do is find the quietest part of your song and set that compressor just so it's really high ratio, fast attack, pretty fast release. Watch out for the distortion that comes in from such heavy reduction. And then mix control to 50-50. Now this will sound more impressive when you're recording in the booth. If the performer's got their headphones on, they will be listening to a much more consistent sound. They'll feel like digging into their guitar more because it won't be so loud in their headphones. Obviously, when you come to set your balances, suddenly you're finding it's easier to find that point between the chorus and the verse. From there, you may want to do even more work. You may want to add some more compression still. Maybe you do just want simple downward compression, the normal style compression. Maybe you will want to do some automation, but it's so much easier and really transparent. Let's do one more thing and have a little look. If I balance the gain, let's see. About 4 decibels roughly means that they're about the same volume. But you can see, if you have a look at this section here, you can see we've got much more level, relatively speaking, in the opening. So now that I've balanced the volume of what we'll call our chorus here, and they're now about the same volume, let's double check that. So let me go to switch the compressor off the original channel because we want to compare our original sound with our now bounced with compression new sound. So let's have a quick listen here. Original first. Now the new one, we shouldn't really hear any difference. I just flicked between the two tracks slightly so you could see there's not much difference tonality wise, so it's a transparent compressor style. Now let's listen to our opening. And the original. And the new one. You can hear it's more forward. Now let's listen to the whole thing with this new secret weapon compression, and let's see how it flows and see if we can hear any of the distortion from the compressor or any sense of that we've had a negative impact. Ordinarily we won't. Let's have a listen. So we've, without doing very much at all, have managed to really help contain that track. The chorus is still loud, but we don't want to destroy dynamics. We still want the chorus to be somewhat loud. And in the mix, I'd probably go and do a little bit more compression to that chorus as well, or maybe I'd automate it. But what a phenomenal starting point for compression that you can use anywhere on anything. Just do it on the quieter section and you will contain your sound whilst bringing up the low level detail, and you won't hear that compression. It will just help everything be more mixable. I hope that's been really exciting and interesting. Please do let me know in the comments whether you think you like this kind of compression idea. Let me know if you try it and what you find. Of course, please hit like and subscribe. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to get those things through. It's makes my day when I see another subscriber. So that will be wonderful. But I hope you have an absolutely brilliant week, and I will see you on another video very soon.